Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another video. Okay, you guys. So first of all, I've explained before that one of the reasons why I wanted to start this channel in addition to the For Harriet channel is because I have so many broad and esoteric interests that just don't belong on For Harriet. And one of them is my undying, decades-long love and fascination with pop music. And I'm talking the poppiest of pop music, usually aimed at teen girls. And so I'm so glad that I'm doing my first full-on, just like pop music deep dive. And I wanted to do it about Olivia Rodrigo because I am freaking obsessed. I am obsessed with Sour. All right, so let me go ahead and get this started. I'm super excited. Let's go ahead and add this to stream. I made a PowerPoint, you guys, because this shit is serious. All right. Olivia Rodrigo understood the assignment because you know me, I take things too seriously. Let's go. All right. So first of all, I have to say that I am a poptimist, right? So poptimism is a phrase coined probably about a decade ago where it describes how we actually really should be treating pop music like it is real music, like it is a serious art form that deserves real, rigorous, and careful scrutiny and careful critique. It's not just something that we throw away or dismiss because it's usually made for by and aimed at young girls, right? So it's so interesting in our culture that we are, on one hand, obsessed with youth. We're obsessed with teenagers and obsessed with teenage girls in particular, right? And like policing every facet of their being. But on the other hand, we are obsessed with diminishing them, telling them that they're not real, telling them that they're frivolous, right? And that the stuff that they make is silly and stupid. And so I am full on a person who believes that the stuff that young women in particular make says so much about a culture that we cannot ignore it. And so that is why when somebody like an Olivia Rodrigo makes an album that I think is this good, I have no problem dissecting it. I have no problem people who are like, why would you spend your time like doing that? Because the shit is good. Okay. And also because at this point, Sour has come to dominate our public conversations, public narratives in some really serious ways. And I'm obsessed with that, right? And I love that in 2021, we are finally in this space where we're prepared to take the work that teen girls in particular make seriously. I love that I've seen so many good, thoughtful reviews of Sour. I love that I've seen so many good, thoughtful reviews of Billie Eilish, right? The new song. And we'll talk about Billie Eilish at a different time. Like, I love where Billie has gone. Or When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? I even, I did on the For Harriet channel, like a deep dive on why I think Chloe and Halle, even though they're not teenagers anymore, why I think they are such compelling musicians. Like, we are collectively, or because women's voices in particular are having such prominence, we are forcing the culture to re-examine the misogyny that infiltrates so many of our cultural criticism conversations. All right, let's move on. So, Olivia, we're going to talk about why Sour is good, why Sour is having such an impact. And of course, I want to be fair because there are some like really super valid critiques of it. Let's talk about Olivia. So it's too early for me to stan, but I'm a really big fan of Olivia Rodrigo. I think Sour is a very, very good pop album. Really good, really solid, not perfect, right? I think sometimes it's a little juvenile in the way that it's supposed to be juvenile. I think sometimes it's a little undercooked in the way that you might expect an album made by a 17-year-old girl to be undercooked, but still so strong in a lot of different ways. So let's talk about her. Olivia now is 18, which, woo, okay, being in my 30s, okay. I remember being 18. She plays the piano, she plays the guitar, she wrote every song or co-wrote every single song on this album. She was on a show on the Disney Channel called Bizarre Vark, which I promise you I've never heard before I did the research for this video. I've never heard of that show a second in my life, but apparently it was on for a minute. And now she stars in High School Musical, the series on Disney Plus, which is a below average show. It's about time for Olivia to be making her exit from that show. Okay. One thing I did think was really interesting was that she owns her masters. That, you guys, okay, I don't know if y'all are in on all of the music industry conversations that have been, bubbling up right over the past year, in particular around Taylor Swift and having her masters sold, around Kanye West and him not owning his masters, around Rihanna. I think she owns her masters. I'm not sure if that's just a rumor or not, right? But the idea of a 17-year-old, 18-year-old girl understanding the music business so much that she makes it a point, and she even says it in an interview I read, like, I own my masters because I'm not going to have those Taylor Swift problems. It is such a good indication of where we are culturally, and also how savvy kids are, right? Like, they're into it. And I've seen a couple people talk about, like, they don't want to hear about white girls anymore. And I'm like, she's half Filipina. Okay. She's AAPI. She's white and Filipina. And that's why she has that, like, exotic, look, right? A mixed girl, super into her. Right. And also I should say, like, a Taylor Swift stan, right? Taylor Swift devotee, for real. Let's talk about driver's license. Oh, you know what else I meant to say? That YouTube is real serious about copyrights, okay? They're really serious about playing music and copyright. So ain't gonna be no music for real. But, just play the songs in your head. All right. So I had no clue who Olivia was before driver's license. She blew up on TikTok. Oh, you know what I wanted to do? Let's do this. Let's actually play the TikToks that, like, really got her, like, let's do that. Oh my gosh, she's a Pisces. She's not white passing. Filipina is not white, you guys. I don't know what y'all are saying, but a Filipina is not white. Okay. Hi. Let me... Hi. Oh, wait, why is this going? Okay, sorry. I forget that I'm supposed to be doing something right now. Okay, let me copy this. We're going to play a little bit of the... Okay. Oh, why is it not playing anymore? Okay, let's the driver's license TikToks. A lot of these videos have been getting removed recently, and I don't know why. Okay. Stop screen, share. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's share the screen. Okay, we're going to play it on 2x, and hopefully if I play it on 2x, it won't be copyrighted. I freaking love this. I'm obsessed.
No, I drive along past your street.
Let me just say, I'm obsessed with any like TikTok trend that allows girls to like be moody. You know what I'm saying? And also another testament to Olivia and her savvy is I was listening to one interview that she did where she was saying like she wrote the bridge, probably one of the best bridges that we've heard in a decade, a perfect bridge, and like made that transition like for TikTok, right? Oh, so freaking good. Yeah. Why are there hoteps in the chat? Are there hoteps? Okay. Anyways, let's move on because I don't know what you're saying. Okay, so let's go back. Oh my God, the first song is brilliant. You don't like the first song? All right. Let's go back to sharing. All right, Driver's License. Literally a perfect song. Driver's License is about a breakup that she had with a co-star, her co-star Joshua Bassett from High School Musical, the series. And I think one of the reasons why it has captured so many people is because it really does articulate the melodrama of a breakup, right? Those really intense feelings that you have in a way that is so typical of a 17-year-old. Like, do you remember being a teenager and you're experiencing all of these things for the first time? I didn't get my heart broken when I was a teenager. I broke a heart when I was a teenager, but you know, I can definitely relate to when you are 15, 16, 17, and you're going through life and you're experiencing all of these things for the first time and you feel like you're gonna die. You know what I'm saying? Do you look back on stuff that like literally crushed your spirit, like completely upended your world when you were a teenager and you're like, whoa, like that was drama. But it was drama, right? And those feelings are legitimate, but also even as an adult, I understand what it feels like to be driving around in your car crying over somebody who broke your heart. Like literally, I have been 25 driving around in my car crying over somebody who broke my heart, running around in the parking lot of my apartment building crying over somebody who broke my heart, walking through the aisle of Whole Foods crying over somebody who broke your, like it's very super relatable. Now, you know, I thought about like, oh, let's talk about the Joshua, Sabrina, Olivia thing, but I'm in my 30s. Like, I don't know if it's like super appropriate for me to be commenting on like the love triangle of like children. So I'm not going to do that. But I did go back and watch because Olivia is the lead of High School Musical, the series, and Josh is her love interest. And they released last year a duet. And I went back and listened to that. And something that really struck me was Joshua, he has his own little music career, you know, music nobody listens to or cares about. And he really reminds me of Justin Timberlake, honestly. In sync, like 18, 19, 20-year-old Justin Timberlake, truly, that's who Joshua reminds me of, even in the way that he sings. And something I thought was really interesting is, you know, we're having this cultural reckoning right now about Britney and the way culturally that we abused Britney and participated in abusing her and exploiting her and laughing at her downfall and picking Justin's side in the breakup. I think something that is really indicative of the way that we culturally have shifted is that Olivia made a breakup album and we're on her side. She gets to tell the story. She gets to reap the benefits of it, right? Like she gets to narrate and control the narrative about her heartbreak in a way that is so different. It is so different from generations past. I think that is super, super interesting. Driver's License is a great freaking pop song, a perfect bridge. Bridges make songs. And I really resent people now trying to go back and be like, oh, well, it's not. And why are we talking about this? And it doesn't matter. Look, Driver's License sounds like a really traditional, mainstream, super successful pop songs. Most pop songs use a certain kind of formula, but that doesn't mean that they're easy to make. It doesn't mean that they're not great music. that they're not real art, it doesn't mean that we should diminish them, right? Because if great pop songs like this were easy to make, everybody would do it. Everybody can't do it. This song was 8 weeks at #1, broke all kinds of streaming records, broke Taylor Swift's streaming record, Cardi B's streaming record, right? There's a reason why it is caught on, and it's not just because of TikTok. It's because people like me, who honestly was kind of late to the party, was like, oh shit, that's a bridge. That's a bridge. And so good, in fact, that we can play a little bit of the really like funny SNL. Let's play this. I think that was a really funny SNL skit from February, where it's basically about how evocative the lyrics are, right? How good and pointed the songwriting is, where we are conditioned to say, oh, this is just a little girl, like this little girl, like this song that the teenagers on TikTok like why would you like that? But it's literally like so moving that you can't ignore it. I thought that was so interesting and astute and not misogynistic, right? Like, whereas 15 years ago, 20 years ago, an SNL skit about an 18-year-old girl would have had a much different tone. I appreciate the way that they dealt with that. So Driver's License has the record for, it's the most streamed Spotify song in a week, 8 weeks at #1. Like, that shit is remarkable. Let's go back to my PowerPoint. I love a PowerPoint, you guys. I'm obsessed. Oh, all right. So she has worked on this album exclusively with Dan Nigro, who is 39. And he used to be in this rock band called As Tall as Lions. And he's written songs for Sky Ferreira and Conan Gray and Carly Rae Jepsen and Caroline Polachek. Now, let me just say, when I was doing the research for this video, I'm interested. I like pop music, so I wanted to go back and see like what he had written. He co-wrote this freaking song with Caroline Polachek called "So Hot It's Hurting My Feelings." That is my shit. Okay? Like, I'm obsessed with that song. So Dan knows what he's doing. I've watched interviews with them, and he has a very loving, paternal relationship to her. And he actually found her because she posted this video on her Instagram. Let's listen to it. It's a like early version of the song Happier.
Like cutting her down like you is my wretched heart. She's beautiful, she looks kind. She probably gives you butterflies. I hope you're happy, but not like how you were with me. I'm selfish, I know. I can't let you go. So find someone great, but don't find no better. I hope you're happy.
Love it. Literally. And that's so close, right? She wrote that song by herself, arranged it by herself. Like, I think that is something that I cannot underscore enough, and something that I do find to be so remarkable is this is a really young woman who has taken such control over her creative output. And now that we are, as grown people, reckoning with how do we deal with and how do we approach young women who are entering the music industry, and how do we keep our eyes open for exploitation? And are you doing things because you want to do it? Are you doing things because you're pushed? Are you doing things because there's a profit incentive? Something that I definitely look for and appreciate is the fact that they're so hands-on, you know? There's so much of her voice in these songs. I like the melody. Okay. I think Filipinos are so quick to claim her when she doesn't do the same. I have gone through a number of interviews with Olivia, and I've seen her say that she's Filipina like 4 times. So I just don't believe that she's trying to freaking hide. But also, she looks Asian. She looks AAPI. Like, come on, you know? That's like that would be like me being like, or not me, but like Barack Obama looks like a black person. Right? Like, so it doesn't really need to say that he's black because he looks like a black person. Like, I don't know. I think that there's some weird, like, people are obsessed with like the identity, being the identity police, and I don't understand that. So anyways, let's go back. Thank you, Brittany. I'm obsessed. Oh, what the heck? Let's go back here. Let's do the share. All right, we're back. So I missed Deja Vu, right, which was the second single from Sour. And then I was completely back on board when I heard Good For You. Good For You is completely my shit. And then the album came out and it is so good. Okay, so there's like all of these records, right, that Olivia has broken. The first artist to simultaneously chart 3 songs from her debut album in the top 10 of the Hot 100. And I love that she is so, whenever she talks about the songwriting process and her inspirations, like she is so clear and lucid about what she is trying to accomplish. I also appreciate that if you are my age or just like right around my age, we grew up with and saw so many Disney stars who tried to make the transition into being musicians or doing different types of movies. And it was just like cheesy and weird, you know, like when Demi or the Jonas Brothers were trying to make like the transition, like out of camp rock and all that stuff. It's like, ew, like the music is okay. Like it is, like, honestly, like I love Burning Up. Like that's my shit. I'm not a big fan of Demi Lovato's first album. But it's just like the transition was kind of rocky because they were trying to figure it out. Or even on Miley Cyrus, even though I did like those early Miley Cyrus songs, 7 Things I Hate About You, I really like that song. Anyways, but I like that her transition from Disney star to like serious musician has been much more seamless. She's extremely media trained, you can tell that. And I just feel like if you listen to her, watch her interviews, it's just impossible not to like her. She's smart, she's traditionally attractive, she's earnest, she knows how to turn a phrase and get out the really important like social media like clips, you know. And I just think she just gets it. And I also love about this album something that makes me feel less bad about loving it so much is that there's like cussing, like hard cussing, you know. I'm like, I still fucking love you, or in Good For You, tell me what the fuck is, like, love it, obsessed. But you know, as much as I appreciate Olivia for being really honest about her feelings and like really digging into them viscerally in a way that so many of us can relate to, like, it's also really important to understand that like there is a machine behind her. Like, obviously she's signed to Geffen Records. Geffen Records recognizes, oh, and by the way, something that I also noticed, like she's signed to Geffen Records, right? And Geffen Records also was responsible for the release of my, like, I think one of the like spiritual foremothers of Sour is Ashley Simpson's autobiography. And so that was also a Geffen Records production. But anyways, like they recognize that Olivia is going to be a huge star and they put so much behind her, including, you know, sending these people like these really huge PR packages that I just thought were really interesting, including one to like Kim Kardashian.
Cute is Olivia Rodrigo.
Nice. I can't wait for her album. You guys know I love driver's license.
Look, she's in a box of tissues. Yes, I do. I listen to it all the time. Stop, North. Saint, don't you listen to it in the car all the time? Yes. Can you say that louder for the people to hear? Do I listen to it all the time, Saint?
Yeah.
See, guys, what a cutie. Thank you.
Okay, so like that huge PR package that got sent to like Joe Jonas and Kim Kardashian, like that shit takes money, that takes time. Like there is a lot there's a whole machine. Oh, why is this still playing? Oh, not YouTube trying to get me caught up. Don't get me caught up, YouTube. We're gonna have to clip that out. But so Olivia always says that like the biggest inspiration of her life is Taylor Swift, right? And what we know is Taylor Swift, amazing songwriter. Don't get me fucking started. I know people don't like Taylor Swift, but what we're not going to do is front on the songwriting of Taylor Swift, but also the way that Taylor packages the albums, the way that she rolls out an album, promotes an album, with all of those resources, the way that it is so coordinated, I do really feel like there is some real Swiftian vibes with the huge machine that has come together to roll out this album. It's very Taylor. You know how like when what was it for not Evermore, the one before Evermore, anyways, when that album came out and Cardigan was out, like I almost bought one of those Taylor cardigans, but it was too expensive. But there's a lot of intentional work being put behind this, right? And so as much as I appreciate that, right, we always have to, when there's so much orchestration, have to be like, what's going on here? Let me look. Folklore. The folklore merch was cute. It was cute. That freaking cardigan, it was too expensive, but it was so okay. All of the music videos are oh my gosh, the music video for Good For You, the styling and just like the whole vibe of it. And something else that I noticed in the Good For You video, like there's this critique of Olivia that she is purposely trying to exploit, millennial nostalgia. And that's why we're all obsessed with her. But something I did notice in Good For You is when she is sitting and like being interviewed by all the people and they're directing their cameras at her, those cameras are like flip phones. And I feel like, was that on purpose? Like, are you trying to signal to us? Are you trying to signal to the olds, Olivia, that you're down with the olds? Yes, it definitely gave me 2000 to like 2005 vibes, the whole Good For You video. Even the aesthetic of the song, the way that it sounds, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Next. Ooh, there's a good one. Let's go back to my freaking, oh gosh, exit. Good For You. We're going to talk about the Four Mothers. Oh, that's Samsung. Oh. Samsung is making flip phones right now like that? Oh, I didn't know that. Ew, I don't want a flip phone. Gross. All right, let's go back. All right, the spiritual musical Four Mothers of an Olivia Rodrigo. We have to go with an Alanis. Both Dan, the producer, co-writer, and Olivia mention Alanis Morissette all the time. And Sour is like a popified, Disney-fied Jagged Little Pill. Jagged Little Pill, by the way, I went back and listened, holds up, okay? If you have not scream sung You Oughta Know recently, I highly suggest it. Obviously, Good For You sounds like Misery Business from Paramore. I'm obsessed with Hayley Williams. Love her. Obviously, she's a huge Taylor Swift fan. Taylor Swift is all up and through this album. Olivia cites Lord all the time. Fiona Apple, there's Fiona Apple vibes in a song like Happier or Jealousy does sound like a Fiona Apple song. Gwen Stefani, I feel like I put Gwen in there because Gwen has written some like amazing like rock breakup songs. Don't Speak. Oh, okay. Definitely Avril Lavigne vibes with like the pop punkish, and then obviously Ashley Simpson. It's giving me, even though Ashley Simpson can't sing the best, but it's definitely giving me those like pop rock pop punk vibes. For sure. For sure. Okay. And, I think another reason why I appreciate Sour, and I think another reason why it has taken hold is because so many of the young people, young musicians are tapping into like a certain kind of aesthetic. It's like a rap aesthetic, hip hop aesthetic, Black aesthetic, R&B aesthetic, right? Like that is the default for so many young people coming up. And like, we can have a whole conversation about how like those visuals and that aesthetic is now like the lingua franca of youth culture, right? Like all youth comes to pop culture via Black aesthetics. And so that's what they gravitate to. I do think that what sets Olivia Rodrigo apart at this point as a half white, half Filipina 18-year-old is she is hearkening back to a time when like white girls were just white, like where like white girls weren't afraid to be white. Like it was a different time, right? Where it's like the appropriation had not taken hold of the culture. But we have Gwen, Gwen, that's a different thing, right? She got to that a little bit later. All right, let's talk about the album. I'm obsessed with Sour. I think the sequencing of Sour is perfect. Baby girl knows how to write a bridge. Baby girl can sing. Baby girl can write. So let's just do like quick song by song. I love Brutal. I think Brutal is a perfect opener. I love that it completely threw us off, right? So like going from a like driver's license, which is so like traditional singer-songwriter ballady, and starting an album with Brutal, which is just rocking hard. And even like she says, oh, I want it to be like messy. And also like Brutal, as somebody who like hated being a teenager, I loved like lyrics like, where's my fucking teenage dream? Who am I if not exploited? It just reminds me of just being like alienated and being like, what the fuck? These are supposed to be the best years of my life. Oh, so good. But also, I've read a couple of reviews where they're like, there's this idea, right? So this goes back to the push and pull of how we deal with youth culture and the push and pull of how we deal with young women, right? Because on one hand, we despise teenage girls, we mock them, we dismiss them. But on the other hand, we're obsessed with teenagers and we say, enjoy it, live it up. This is the best time of your life. You have no problems in the world. When in reality, like for most teenagers, that's just not true. I fucking hated being a teenager. My 32-year-old life is so much better than my 17-year-old life. Are you kidding? You couldn't pay me enough. So anyways, I just like, not to get off on my shit, I just really like just how disaffected it was, like disenchanted it was. It's even like on the album cover of Sour, she's giving us like Daria vibes, right? Where it's like, this shit fucking sucks. Get me out of here. And just the perfect ending to that song. She says, got a broken ego, broken heart. God, I don't even know where to start. That is the perfect way to begin an album. Oh my freaking God. All right, then Traitor. Traitor is a very Swiftian song. Those harmonies on Traitor. Immediately I was like, okay. And even Traitor, you didn't cheat, but you're still a traitor. Like very, Taylor Swift loves, especially in those early albums, like a Fearless or Speak Now, when she was talking about breakups, loved a melodramatic, like you betrayed me. Oh my God, obsessed with it. The strumming guitar, very Taylor Swift. Driver's License, we've been over it. I do feel like the clarity of voice and emotion there was perfect. We already talked about how she wrote with TikTok in mind. 1 steps forward, 3 steps back. Another Taylor Swift, very also I appreciate how inward looking this album is. It is very true to like, oftentimes when young women are writing songs, it feels like they're trying really hard. And I sometimes feel like this with a Billie, Sometimes I felt like this on When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Where the songs are trying really hard to be edgy and they're trying really hard to be adult, right? With adult content. Sour is very much I'm a teenager and these are the things that I'm feeling. And one step forward, three steps back is so much about that indecision. It thematically reminded me of Dear John by Taylor Swift. It also reminds me of when years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I was dating someone who would only text me once a week, but I was dating him, right? And now that I look back, I'm like, what the fuck? But at the time it was but he's busy. Yeah, the excuses that you make for the indecision of the people that you want to be with. Deja Vu, aesthetically, Deja Vu really reminded me of Lana Del Rey. There's something about when people talk about Malibu and that really light, tinkling. There's something about that. The harmonized yelling on Deja Vu was very Swiftian. The alternating between the whispers and the yelling was very evocative, right? It really draws you in. Good for You. Deliciously catchy song. I'm obsessed with Good For You. I was just in New Orleans with my partner, right? And so he had to listen to what I listened to. And I would play that song all the time. And I was playing this album and he would be like, what the fuck? Right? But Good For You really reminds me of, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, it reminds me of the pop rock, radio Disney songs. 7 Things by Miley Cyrus. There's some Lindsay Lohan songs that it reminds me of from Hurry Fully Loaded. The Jonas Brothers stuff. It does. I think it's a good song, but it definitely has that kind of, it's misery business, but it's also Disney. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway. It sounds like spiky Hot Topic belts is what it sounds like. All right. Enough for You. Enough for You is actually one of those songs that I actually feel really could have easily been eliminated. I don't think that it added a whole lot to this album. Happier, Melancholy and Pretty. I love that that's the acceptance stage of the breakup where you're okay, you're gone. Let me get in my last, and with a tinge of bitterness, loved that. Jealousy is another one of my favorites on this album. That has Fiona Apple vibes. And I love this a really cogent critique of influencer culture, a really cogent critique of, I'm a teenage girl. I'm watching all of these people. Why are they so pretty? They have shit that I don't. And it's so interesting, right? Olivia, traditionally attractive girl, famous, ostensibly rich, right, is writing a song about being jealous of the people that she sees when she scrolls Instagram or TikTok. Super interesting to me. Favorite Crime felt very Swiftian. Another great hook. And Hope You're Okay is just a really sweet song. Reminds me of just alternative 90s rock. Just cute. Just a really good, solid album. Is it a perfect album? No. I think Good For You could have been left off. I think a lot of the songs have similar vibes. And so, but it's good. It's good. And considering that it's not overproduced, and also there's some really interesting production choices on the album. Even the way that a Deja Vu sounds, just weird stuff in there. I'm into it. Oh, I also want to talk about how good of a songwriter I think Olivia is. All right. So there are so many, if you really do research on her, there are so many songs that she's written that just are just random, throwaways. Hope You're Okay came just in time for Pride Month. I know I've seen a couple of reviews that said that they felt like Hope You're Okay didn't exactly fit thematically, but I just thought it was just a nice, sweet note, a pretty note to end the album on. I just want to say that Lorde opened the door for a lot of the new teenage pop songs. Yes, I think that the Lorde influence is the darkness, right? So there is often a darkness on this album, in the production, in the songwriting choices that feels very pure heroin. It feels very green light. It feels very melodrama. Totally. Yeah. Okay, y'all are having some kind of debate about ethnicity in the comments that I'm not going to engage in. That's not going to be for me. Let's go to, I just think she's a good songwriter. Like, I really liked this song.
Not long ago when I saw you there with your brown-eyed grin and your messy hair, and every girl at the party was looking at you. I wonder what I'd say if I knew back then that the brown-eyed boy'd be my best friend and the one I'd give my heart to. Now
This is a good song. Okay, let's stop before I get copyrighted. I just feel like she's just a naturally good songwriter. Like, I just am amazed by that because I just think it's a real skill. All right. Just sickeningly good. All right, now we can get to the critiques. I don't know why my eyes are, is it allergy season? I don't know why my eyes are watering right now. We can get to the critiques of it now. All right, so I have consumed so many reviews of this, watched so many of her interviews, and there are some critiques that I really vibe with. And I think a really valid critique of Sour is it's a nice album. It's a good album, solid album with good songs. It's not particularly inventive. There are some little weird parts of it, but it's not particularly experimental. Generally, Olivia and Dan are sticking to a really, really narrow pop music formula. And they stick with that formula and it works, right? Verse, hook, bridge, hook, right? So, if that's, and it feels not just is it sticking to a very narrow formula, but if you are a Taylor Swift connoisseur the way that I'm a Taylor Swift connoisseur, if you are a Lorde connoisseur the way that I am, if you're an Alanis connoisseur the way that I am, a lot of these songs, it feels like could be on a Taylor album, right? There are many points in this album where it's like, oh, this is just a really good Taylor album. 1 step forward, 3 steps back, which interpolates New Year's Day. Very Taylor. Enough for You. Very Taylor. Favorite Crime. Very Taylor, right? But Taylor's in her 30s. We're the same age. And so should we just expect at this point that there's just going to be a new generation of people who grew up listening to Taylor Swift, right? Since they were literally children, like little babies, and that they're going to have internalized the Taylorisms, internalize the way that she produces songs, internalize the way that she uses really imagery, right? Really descriptive image, sure, that's fair. So I mentioned, Alanis a couple of times because Jagged Little Pill is the rock breakup album of rock breakup albums, right? And, this album is easily palatable. As much as I appreciate that Olivia has, tried to break out of the mold by cussing and the Good For You music video where she's setting shit on fire and wearing the black latex opera gloves and all of that. There are definitely still some Disney-ish, elements in there where it's smoothing out the edges a little bit. Sure. Okay. I do think that something I'm super fascinated by is the Gen Z obsession with the early 2000s. It's very that. Let me look at the comments. Yeah, the same way Nicki is the blueprint for most female rappers. Totally. Yes. My sister and I were talking about the people she could potentially collaborate with, and we couldn't think of one. Olivia? I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. The other thing is, right? So we get this album, which is a breakup album where she's talking about, these feelings of going through a breakup or whatever. But I still am not sure I really know who Olivia Rodrigo is. I'm not sure I really got a clear sense of who she is from this album. And even in her interviews, because she has been on the Disney Channel for almost a decade now, she's so media trained and so perfect. And all of the answers are just like perfection and put together. It feels sometimes empty, right? Like I like mess. I like weird and, out there, like I'm obsessed with Doja Cat right now. I like Doja Cat because she's fucking weird. She's a fucking weirdo. Okay. And that comes out every single time she sits down, every single time she opens her mouth, in every single music video. With Olivia, we don't necessarily get that personality stuff in there. She wants to be a serious musician, and she's real about her shit, real about her craft of songwriting, real about her public persona. But I don't really know. But at the same time, right? Does she know, right? She's 18. She's 18. So maybe she's still figuring that out. That's fine. Yeah. Someone said Miley and Olivia could collab. That'd be interesting. Yeah. Okay. And so in the New York Times review of Sour, John Caramanica talked about how it's really great. Like, this album is a really good first album because she gets to try on all of these different personas. She's not locked into the singer, songwriter, balladeer thing. She gets to be pop punk. She gets to be disaffected. She gets to be sweet, hope you're okay. She gets to be kind of jazzier, jealousy. And she's just, trying these things on and taking them off. And like, maybe that's just like it's a function of being a kid, right? You try things on, you take them off. And it prevents her from being pigeonholed. So for next album, she gets to do whatever she wants. I'm okay with that, right? And I love that an album like this, we really underscore that there is definitely like a youthfulness in there. There's an innocence in there, but innocence does not equal incompetence. That's what I like. That's what I took away from this album. And yeah, there's definitely some critique that I've seen of how millennials are clinging on to this album, because we're having to deal with, aging and like what were the 2000s like and all of that. Yeah, there's totally that. I don't miss the 2000s. I love 2000s pop culture, but like that's the only thing to miss about the 2000s. Like, just like if you missed 2000 through 2005, you didn't miss anything. It was 9/11, it was wars, it was the Dixie Chicks getting canceled, what I'm saying? It was Destiny's Child breaking up, like it was a lot. It was George Bush. But there was some good music. Okay. Gen Z, just like us. Anyways, that's all I have there, you guys. I just thought it was a really good, solid album. I'll go back and look at this. The 2000s sucked. No, I won't say they sucked. I mean, honestly, like, every decade has its issues. Like, every decade has its issues. The 2000s, well, let's be honest. The post 9/11 years, those were some bad years. Those were some bad years for sure. If you missed the post 9/11 years, shout out to you. Shout out to you. In the fucking Afghanistan war and the Iraq war years, shout out to y'all. Those were not good. Miley is the best pop star we got from Disney. Miley is incredibly talented and versatile and interesting. For sure. But I really liked I can't remember which Demi Lovato album it was, but the one that had Sorry Not Sorry on it, I really liked that album. I'm gonna need Olivia and Sabrina to collab to shock the girls. Sabrina is Sabrina Carpenter. They might have the other thing that I thought was interesting, not to get too deep into this like little kid drama, but like Olivia was going through this heartbreak. She wrote Driver's License. Driver's License became a huge hit. And then she had to go back to the set of High School Musical, the series, and star opposite Josh. And Sabrina, I think, is in that show, right? That's drama. Again, I'm not going to comment too much on that, but that was interesting to me. All right. The 10s are going to come back eventually, and I want to see how the new generation works with those trends. Yes. Oh, she's not in this show. Okay, Sabrina's not in this show, but Joshua is in this show. Okay, anyways, you guys, that's it. I loved talking about this. I just thought it was so great. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.